fancy meeting you here in this little old place. I'm Tish, and this is Echo Echo. Hello. If you are not a regular viewer of mine, I'm a bit nervous to make this video because the person who I'm discussing has a fandom that is a cult, in my opinion. They have their own language. They are very loyal. The cognitive dissonance be there. Yeah, they're very committed, and it takes a lot for them to see. Well, they don't see it, but I'm going to be talking about Ethan Klein and H3. And it's like, who do you think you are? 1,300 subs, usually doing anti-MLM. They have what, 6 million subs? Oh, they used to have 6 million subs. Oh, why would they have lost 400k subs in the last little bit? I know why. Because he's a raging Zionist who is justifying the genocide by Israel by accusing everybody of being anti Semitic, smearing his critics, and suing them because he has money, because he's a YouTuber who is able to cash in on nostalgia and having that parasocial relationship that a lot of people can't let go. Also, the types of people who he is hanging around with at the moment love what he's saying, love what he's doing, and a lot of people have moved away from them because of that. So it's fun just dropping in here to talk about cults for a second. I usually cover anti-MLM content. Now, that's where I think I have a little bit of expertise in talking about the types of people who are following H3 at the moment and being like a cult. Basically, MLMs are commercial cults, and you can see a pattern of behavior in the what's called the bite model. Okay, and it is a theory that was developed by Stephen Hassan, who used to be pretty well respected. They're kind of it like this, but the bite model's fine. He worked with J.K. Rowling, and that has kind of discredited him. So in the bite model, we have it's an acronym. Do you know? I didn't know the word acronym, and I thought that the word was an acronym. An acronym. No, it's acronym. Anyway, the B is for behavior control, the I is for information control, the T is for thought control, and the E is for emotional control. So let's have a breakdown of that. Stephen Hassan was in the Moonies, which was a cult in the late 60s. And so after he got out of that, he basically developed all this information, all this theory, and it is well respected. So, behavior control, it is how manipulative groups regulate and dominate their members' actions and behaviors through strict rules, rewards, and punishments, limiting individual autonomy. If you have ever seen H3 Live, the podcast, this is definitely something that happens with even paying members. And I think you have to be a paying member to comment in their chat. So, yeah, like so I have never been a H3 fan, and I sort of watched maybe one or two frenemies and then watched here and there because they were going up against, like, I think it was the Sam Cedar thing because I hated Stephen Crowder. And what else? Oh, there were a couple of other things where I was like, I thought, oh, I'll check it out. And I didn't mind it. And the reason why I stopped watching was because there was an episode where they were talking about James Charles's Amazon list, and they were talking about how he has adult diapers on there. And Ethan was being homophobic. He was told that he was being homophobic by the chat, and somebody also called in to say it was homophobic what he was doing. And people were complaining. I thought it was homophobic. And Dan yelled, "Oh, shut the fuck up! Just leave if you don't like it." And so I went, "Okay, I'm gonna leave. I'm out." So I just want to say, fuck James Charles. He's a predator, in my opinion. It wasn't about James Charles. It was about the moment, not that part. And I think Dan said, "Shut up," not "shut the fuck up." But he definitely said, if you don't like it, get out. Also, on the subreddit, the H3, the actual subreddit, not the snark, we'll get into that. Yeah, you can get permabanned very easily for disagreeing. There are strict rules. So there is major time spent with group indoctrination and rituals or self-indoctrination, including the internet. So 4-hour podcasts. It discourages individualism, encourages groupthink. You can see that by the brigading of content creators that they do not like. impose rigid rules and regulation, rewards and punishments used to modify behaviors, both positive and negative. So, one of the H3 crew members, AB Ayad, who is Lebanese and is not being, in my opinion, a very good spokesperson for Lebanese people. And that's coming from the Do Not Worry podcast, who are out of Lebanon. I think that he's selling out his people for money. That's just my opinion. His wife, Lena, was training to box in a thing called Creator Clash. It was the third one. It was originally run by iDubbbz and his wife, Anissa. They're two content creators. Sorry if you don't know all the names of these, if you're not aware. And after iDubbbz sort of made a content cop about Ethan, Ethan was like, he is enemy number one. Oh no, that was before then because iDubbbz and Anissa didn't want to say anything about CPS being called on them. More on that later. Ethan and Keela Klein, who's Ethan Klein's wife, were saying, like, we don't like them anymore. And then iDubbbz makes a video. He's in charge of Creator Clash 3. And then Lena's training for Creator Clash 3. See? So the event that, like there was this conflict between the two in charge and Lena is in the middle. Well, Ethan paid Lena like $20,000 or whatever her fee was so that she would not box in Creator Clash 3. That's a way that they are using rewards to dictate behavior. I want you to not do that thing. Here's 20 grand. He did it also with iDubbbz's boxing coach, who went on the podcast to shit on him and talk about how he cried after a serious bout of boxing, which is, I've heard, common. He had this his awful wife was dishing. He was a virgin and blah blah blah, and Ethan gave them $5,000. And alternatively, on the other side of this, the behavior that's been punished is this like a betrayal of iDubbbz and Anissa. They didn't support them, and so now we're dishing out punishment, and that is they're trying to tank the Creator Clash, which is trying to raise money for cancer, and they keep saying, well, it's a separate, you have to go to a separate thing, it's not even a charity. Like, it's meant to drive traffic to it. And the reason why Creator Clash 2 failed is because they underestimated how many people would pirate it, and they thought they would sell more pay-per-views. It's complicated, and they did a fundraising stream afterwards, so there was still fun stuff raised for it, and already they've raised over 200K for the cancer charity. However, if you are not behaving in the appropriate way with criticizing Ethan Klein, he is going to try and go after you. So am I nervous about him and his fandom going after me? Yeah. But I think that it's something that I want to speak out about. And what he's doing now is trying to tank Creator Clash 3. He's trying to make it fail. He's talking shit on anyone involved and saying, like, because they are with iDubbbz and Anissa, and he's got this Harley Morenstein who's supporting him, who repeats all the Zionist talking points. He's an OG YouTuber who has no relevance today, really, except for the Creator Clash, and he's basically shitting on it as well. And he gets rewarded because he's finding relevance within the H3 fandom and getting popular again. He wasn't popular for a while because he was suing all of his ex co-hosts. He did some food YouTube thing. I can't remember what it is. Yeah, so that's we're punishing that behavior of criticizing Ethan by trying to ruin people's lives. And he has us stated outright that he wanted to ruin Denim's life. He wanted financially, he said. And then they do this thing on H3 where they go, Ethan is joking. He's telling a joke. That's your joke? You want to financially ruin Denims. Okay. Yeah, I think this is clear evidence of how he uses rewards and punishment to control behavior. So, yeah, he throws money at it. Okay, information control. Examining the tactics of manipulative organizations to control information flow through censorship, propaganda, restricting members' access to outside perspectives. there's a bunch of creators who make content about this drama, and basically they are regurgitating supportive things about Ethan, and it's all basically a human centipede of them just spewing this like constant amount of slop about like hating on the creators that Ethan hates, and it all stems from their own hatred of Hassan, which is a genre in itself, you know. We'll get to the lawsuits, but basically there's all these people who hate Hassan, who is Ethan's mortal enemy. And so they make all these videos about Hassan's terrible, Hassan did this, Hassan. And then that is fed back into the machine, keeping that information within. Same with the way that they use the subreddit. Do they have a Discord? I don't know if they have a Discord, but the subreddit is the main place. And so there could be deception involved where they distort information and deliberately withhold information, like lying by omission. I'm going to get to it, but Ethan made a content nuke, which is like exposing all the bad things about Hassan, and another creator broke down exactly how he deceptively framed all of the information. Minimize or discourage access to non-cult source of information. Again, it's all Israeli Hasbara, which is their word for propaganda. Encourage spying on other members. There's definitely a lot of like looking in other people's subreddits and members and going into that. Extensive use of cult generated information and propaganda, like basically the sea of Ethan people. The language they use is cult. Like, and I noticed this years ago. It was like Papa Bless, fam, Ethan is in goblin mode. There's all these phrases that they have that make them that H3 like circle. And it's especially on in the chat and on Reddit. Another one they've got is Hassan orbiters. Ethan has orbiters. Ethan orbiters. Like seriously, there's this whole bunch of people who are just orbiting him at the moment. And they call all of anybody who is against H3 Hassan orbiters. I don't watch Hassan. Is he attractive? I guess. Yeah. I don't know. And the people that they say are Hassan orbiters are not. Like, it's just really ridiculous. Okay, thought control. Focus on psychological techniques used by such groups to shape beliefs and attitudes, suppressing critical thinking and promoting conformity. Absolutely, you cannot question the leader. You have to, require members to internalize the group's doctrine as truth. You have to go along with what Ethan's saying, or no. Just like this lawsuit that he is coming up with, everybody's saying, this. They're just parroting everything he's saying. Use of loaded language and cliches with constrict knowledge, stopping critical thought and reducing complexities into platitudinous buzzwords. Abso-fucking-lutely. Okay? It's always like Hassan, orbiters, and fucking Papa Bless, and like all the Frogan's one of the people who is being sued. Like all of her insults, just the same shit every time. There's definitely thought stopping techniques which shut down reality testing by stopping negative thoughts and allowing only positive thoughts. Thought stopping in the way that H3 does it is Ethan will insult them. Like when he had this long debate with Hassan, and if Hassan ever got on a roll of making a point, he'd go, ooh, 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 ooh. So then the audience wouldn't be able to say, take that point of view on. Forbid critical questions about the leader, doctrine, or policy allowed. Yep, you cannot question. You have to be pro-Israel. Have to be. And the way that he frames himself as being a Palestine supporter of Palestine, because he donated $6,000 to a fundraiser a couple of years ago. This is an interesting one. Labeling alternative belief systems as illegitimate, evil, or not useful. Oh, that's it. That's Ethan Klein all over. When Israel bombed Iran, whose side do you think? So preemptive strike, that's what they said. No, they struck without any excuse. And Ethan actually said, Iran is evil. They're evil. It's their fucking fault. They're evil. And the last one is emotional control. Explores how manipulative organizations manipulate emotions, fostering dependency and loyalty through love bombing, guilt, and fear-based indoctrination. Well, we know that they love bomb, manipulate and narrow the range of feelings. Some emotion and or needs to be deemed as evil, wrong, or selfish. And it absolutely is. It's very much a binary, good, bad, smart, dumb, harmful, non-harmful, and basically putting Israel and Palestine
in those two binaries as well. And it's like the old adage, if you're not with us, you're against us. And it's as simple as that. There's no in between. Okay. You have to be 100% with them. And, that's as evidenced as with what happened with iDubbbz, because I don't think that iDubbbz was completely against Ethan, but because he wasn't sticking up for him in a certain situation, it was like, no, you're out. You're fucking out. Many of the fallen fans, that's what they call themselves, the H3 fallen fans, have found themselves on the other side of that. And it has to be like that because they're trying to control the emotions of the cult. There's no room to question.
Again, teaching emotions, stopping techniques to block feelings of any doubt. He is working against the reality of people seeing images of children dying, being exploded, blah, blah, blah. All of that horrific stuff that we are having to witness, that we should witness in this moment. It hurts to witness it, but it'd hurt more if we were in it, because we're going to tell the story of this fucking genocide, this Holocaust after a Holocaust. And he has to cut that off at the pass. He has said some horrific things to make you forget about that. Not me, but the audience. The emotional part of it definitely comes with the hatred, really. The hatred of Hassan and the hatred of Muslims, of Arabs. Like he's really, really turning to that. And women, misogyny. Yeah, there's a lot in it. But that's the basics of the bite model. I will point them out as I go through as well. All right, back to it. This is going to be a long video. Yeah, let's get to it, right? I'm fat. Maybe you can hear me breathe sometime. Yeah, I don't know. What else have you? I'm old. Yeah, great. The reason why I bring this up is because Ethan Klein, when he doesn't have an argument, he goes for an ad hominem attack. That's his thing. So I'm like, I'll beat you to the punch. I think I'm great, but I'm just saying, like, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I'm a high school teacher. They're worse. All right, so I'm going to talk about a few things. If you're a regular viewer of mine, thank you for engaging in this. This is not drama, because genocide is not drama slop, right? That's one of the problems I have, is that this selection of content creators, Ethan Klein and the slop tubers making simping videos about this situation, are clickbaiting genocide, right? They're clickbaiting genocide. What the fuck? Where are we in this world that we're clickbaiting genocide? It's just insane. And yeah, you know what? Maybe for them, like, I like how Noah Samson has used it. He's done many videos on the Gaza and the Palestinian genocide. But it was only when he started criticizing Ethan Klein, Some Ordinary Gamers, Mutahar, Destiny, and he put them in the thumbnail that people were watching the videos. I appreciate that because he's using his powers for good, not evil. Now, before we start, sorry, also, if I'm accused of being anti-Semitic, I'm not. Jewish people are wonderful. Israelis, the people in Israel, the Zionists, the people who support the current actions of the Netanyahu government. I'm not calling him by his cute little nickname, Benjamin Netanyahu, and it's not even his real fucking name. He's a war criminal. If you support him, fuck you. And what he's doing right now is it's like holocausting the victims of the Holocaust. He is taking the memory of those people and shitting on it and shitting on it and shitting on it, and then stomping on it, and then throwing it in the bin, then getting it back out and running it over and smashing it. So, not anti-Semitic. My background is I'm a high school teacher, arts high school teacher. I also teach history and love history. I have visited Germany twice because I love World War II history and always been fascinated by it. The thing that used to just hurt my brain is like, how did this happen? How did this gross, mustached man, not very attractive, kind of weird, how'd he trick so many people? Meanwhile, Donald Trump exists and becomes like the president twice. So it's happening again. That was my thing. I wanted to really look at, like, how did that happen? I've been to a concentration camp. I've done lots of reading. I've been to the Fuhrer bunker. Do you want to get up? Come on. Oh, okay. I thought she needed my help. Um, the Fuhrer bunker. I've been to the Holocaust Museum twice. Like when I was in Germany, when I was in Berlin, I was just so touched by the Holocaust Museum, which is a couple of blocks away from the Fuhrer bunker. I went a second time because I was just it was a very good place to go and really see and feel and experience what that is. Yeah, and I went to Sachsenhausen, which is just outside of Berlin. I wanted to go to Poland, but it was really expensive to fly there, or it was time inefficient on the train. I can't remember which one, but it was a little bit more difficult to get to. Yeah, Sachsenhausen was just a concentration camp. I don't think it was a death camp. Not that people didn't die there, but it wasn't, the area around it, and maybe people have heard this story before, but the area around a concentration camp, it's just it's so quiet. Like it's unnatural. That's how it feels, because usually when you are walking anywhere, and Germany's beautiful, it's so beautiful. You have little sounds of nature, you know, but there wasn't anything like that there, and it was very bleak. I have considered converting to Judaism, but I'm not faithful enough for any faith except agnosticism. Also, I do have this book. This is one of the books. Okay, let's have a look. Big as my head, thick as half of my head. This is a history of the nation of the Nazi concentration camp. Yeah, it's very interesting. I've always been, and oh, I've got a really there's a great book, and it's just called The Holocaust. And I've moved, so I haven't unpacked all my books, but it's excellent. It's so good. I found the book. It's called The Holocaust: A New History, and it's by Doris Bergen. And she is Chancellor Rose and Ray Wolf Professor of Holocaust Studies at the University of Toronto. Uh, this is really easy to read too. Like it was some history textbooks you can get, lost in the weeds because it is so dry. The topic is dry, but this was very consumable. Yeah, it's so good at just breaking it all the way down. Lots of pictures. Yeah, amazing, amazing book. Highly recommend. So please don't come at me with, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what our people have been through. Not personally, no, but I can empathize. I can absolutely empathize. So, and this is an old, you can see that it's old because it's got like, it's pretty worn. So it's not a new thing. This is not a new thing. Oh, I didn't realize Ian Kershaw is a fantastic World War II writer. Let's have a look. I'll show you my bookshelf. We don't like Amazon here anymore. Fuck Jeff Bezos. I think I've got my calf on here, but I've never really read it. Let's look at the library. We've got Nazi Women and the Attraction of Evil, like just the second one. Aggressor and Other Infamous SS Female Guards. Hila Klein, paging Hila Klein. The Nazi Files, the Nuremberg Trials, the Splendid Blonde Beast, which was about Auschwitz, I think. I read a fiction book which was kind of about Heydrich, the one who died from the British thing. Judaism for Dummies. That's what I was considering. Judaism for Dummies. Can you see it there? Yeah, there you go. So I told you. Next to my German Lonely Planet book. And everything German phrases. So I'm pretty. And Night by Elie Wiesel. The Nuremberg Nazi Truck, the classic Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William L. Scherer. There's Mein Kampf. There's a really good book, another one about the Nuremberg trials, one about Auschwitz. This book has been like one of my favorites of any World War II book, which is called Dead Funny, Telling Jokes in Hitler's Germany. It's so good because I'm a drama teacher. I was really interested to hear about what performers went through. Let's have a look at our Apple books. iBooks, what do they call that now? Oh, well, it opens up to the anatomy of fascism. Don't we love it? I like to have a good time. I do want to buy the 100 Years' War on Palestine, actually. All right. What do we got? Oh, I want to buy Orientalism by Edward Said. That's one. Hitler's First 100 Days. I think I've got as many in here. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, Nazi Germany, German survival phrases, the world's most evil people with Hitler on the cover. That's where Netanyahu should be as well in that book. Oh yeah, that's one. HHHH by Laurent Binet, and it is and the I do have the Anne Frank, like I've got the audiobook as well. Not as much on iBooks, but yeah, HHHH is like it's kind of like a fiction book. So yes, have I read all about? And I've got a bunch of like real books as well. Why did I have to touch a book? I don't have to touch it. Is that so? Talking of Anne Frank, I've been to the Anne Frank attic. It was a very moving experience, and what I tried to do when I was walking around was to be as quiet as I could. I wanted to see how hard it was to move without making noise, because that's what Anne Frank and her family will have done for hours and hours. Yeah, it was really good. I've also been to Nuremberg. Speaking of the Nuremberg trials, and I went to the courthouse. That was really good too. Sat on the benches where the most evil men of the Nazi regime have sat. I also have been to the rally grounds where they filmed part of the Leni Riefenstahl movie Triumph of the Will. Yeah, which was German propaganda.
So, all this to say that I've done my research, I know what I'm talking about, and hopefully that's going to make a difference for some people. However, for the cult, it won't make a difference. The amount of people who are way more knowledgeable than I am, Overzealots, I rewatched Overzealots video yesterday, and oh my God, he's amazing. Sources, exact dates and exact quotes. And there's still people in the comments saying, this is bias, blah, blah, blah. So I can't imagine what they're going to say about me when my experience is a little bit of life experience and going to these places as well as reading books. But, and the other person who's really knowledgeable about it is Chris Kunzler. I've also listened to Ilan Pape on Majority Report, Rashid Khalidi, a lot of different scholars, Finkelstein, all the people who know the most. So the hand movements in this are off the charts. I'm sorry. Handography. Anyway, just wanted to say it, even if it doesn't make a difference to the haters. I do know some things.
Coincidentally, what we're talking about today, what I'm talking about with regard to Ethan Klein and the H3 podcast, H3HE Productions crew, because you're doing it as well, crew. I'm sorry, but you are. Is that they are spreading Zionist propaganda to manufacture consent for genocide. Yeah. So that's what we're here to talk about. Isn't it fun? It's so fun. It's so good. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say about Nuremberg. There was a guy there in the docks of Nuremberg for this is the main one. There was also trials with the doctors and stuff like that as well. And his name was Julius Streicher. Julius Streicher was the editor of a newspaper called Die Stürmer. And Die Stürmer was the main propaganda outlet for the Nazis. Okay? They did a lot of work to manipulate the German people into believing the lies of Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels. I had a class one year when we were doing World War II history, and the way like we would use little mnemonic devices to remember names or silly little things, and we remembered Joseph Goebbels' name because we called him Joseph Gumballs. But it's a bit too fun for who he is. Anyway, Julius Streicher, he was hung for war crimes. That's where his propaganda got him. He was basically enabling the regime to carry out genocide, to carry out the Holocaust. And I'm not saying that that's what should happen today. I'm just giving you information. That's what happened back in the day to somebody who was propagandizing for the government. So it's just a history. It's a fun fact. Fun fact. Okay. We've got a lot of Julius Strikers out there. Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Jimmy Dore. I would say that, even Rogan, he's doing it. MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, like so many have only talked about things from an Israeli perspective, as in the last few days, Israel launched an unprovoked attack on Iran. Iran retaliated, defending itself, and then everybody else was saying Israel has a right to protect itself against Iranian attacks. And it's like, are you fucking kidding? They're not. Israel is why we're here right now. The media has a lot to answer for, and that is what Ethan Klein has been doing. I don't believe in the death penalty. I'm trying to think about whether I would want Benjamin Netanyahu to die. So the ICC, which is the International Criminal Court, so there is an arrest warrant that has been issued. It was issued on 21st of November, 2024, and the charges were allegedly responsible for the war crimes of starvation as a method of warfare and of intentionally directing an attack against the civilian population and the crimes against humanity of murder, persecution, and other inhumane acts from at least 8th of October 2023 until at least the 20th of May 2024. And I'm sure they could add a lot more now. He's currently wanted and then is going to be tried theoretically in this, but Benjamin Netanyahu will not get caught. He will not. This is why it's been going on. He's been running out the clock on his political career. He's doing pretty well at it at the moment. Yeah, so he's wanted, but he's managing to fly around the world, talk at Washington D.C. Yeah, those that have helped me stay informed. Definitely independent journalists and independent media companies like Zeteo. I thought I was a member, but I went to check something the other day and Substack, and it wouldn't let me into the paid Substack thing. So I'm like, oh, did my subscription run out? I have to renew it because I like supporting independent journalism. I'm a member of Majority Report, even though they have an ExpressVPN sponsor, which always like I've emailed them about. I've said it many times in chat. No, not in chat, just in the comments. Dropsite News is good. Ken Klippenstein, Francesca Ferrantini. I don't watch a lot of Hassan. And this is the thing, like I've never really watched any Hassan. I've watched a video here and there of him, like just after this whole thing, but never really watched him. Don't know his content really. I appreciate that he has such a big following and he is vocally anti-genocide. That's great. And then there are the people who have been calling Ethan Klein out at risk of their own uh, sanity, safety, financial ruin. You know, I really do appreciate them calling them out and also just informing people of what is the truth and debunking the Hasbara. Oh, Bad Hasbara podcast with Matt Lieb and Daniel Mate. Fantastic. So good. So funny. It's about like anti-genocide, anti-Zionist. It debunks all of the Zionist Israeli talking points and does talk about what's happening, but it's they you can have a laugh, you know. It's very good how they balance that. And the other people who have been calling out, like Noah Samson, fantastic. He's got a fantastic hour-long video about the YouTubers who backed a genocide. He was threatened with legal action by Ethan Klein and Mutahar, some ordinary gamer, because they say it's defamation, even though it's purely opinion. However, Noah does also prove that they backed, and yeah, because backing is also kind of a subjective term. Noah did a follow up after that saying Ethan Klein's trying to sue me, and he used it as a way to talk about the genocide, and he imparted a lot of knowledge as well as exposing Ethan's talking points. Bad Empanada. Shout out Bad Empanada, fellow Australian. He's great. People don't like him because he's not polite. He just says things. Like he'll say, "You're not a leftist if you believe this." Like he's very black and white. There's no gray area with him. He's very switched on. He knows his shit. He hasn't doxed people. He hasn't harassed people. He gets harassed. He's such a much smaller creator than Ethan like portrays, you know. The only thing I don't like, he was like criticizing somebody for being fat. This all stems, so a couple of months ago, Ethan Klein put out a content nuke on Hassan Piker. It was a pile of shit. It was full of Israeli talking points, lying by omission, and like out of context clips that were provided by Destiny people on Reddit. Okay. And Ethan Klein has accused Reddit snarkers of everything under the sun, but calling CPS on him because he told the story about how his son got giardia. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, from like he was just talking about he is sick with giardia, and Healer was sick with it, and like everybody was saying, well, we don't want to get sick. What happened? And he said, well, Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth, and the dog poo was on the ground, and we think perhaps he put it in his mouth, and um, then got giardia, and he said, oh, how do I not catch it? Well, are you going to eat my poop? No. And then he accused people of calling CPS, even though he told a story about his child possibly getting giardia from eating poop on a podcast where you have 6 million viewers. And also, California law says that you cannot, like a CPS report that is investigated, cannot be anonymous, and it has to be like a credible person who knows them. So it's someone they know. And he accused everyone, including Denims, who's a Twitch streamer. He accused Hassan's following. He accused the Snark. They had a podcast episode which was called Snarkers Called CPS on Us, even though Ethan was the one who shared the story. And also, he's a high profile YouTuber. What happened to a high profile YouTuber last year called Ruby Frankie? Was she in jail for child abuse, which people were ringing up about and asking them to investigate? So if they think there is a sniff of a child abuse claim, I imagine that they're going to investigate it. And we don't even know if it happened. So, because Ethan is not fond of the truth, that's my opinion. And he also likes to clickbait and use things to get views. So, who knows? He made that content nuke and people reacted to it. He wanted Hassan to watch it. That was the only thing he wanted. He was like pitching a fit, like, he won't watch my video. The history there is that Hassan and Ethan used to have a podcast called The Leftovers. After October 7th, they disagreed on what was happening, and Hassan was trying to educate him. They went on hiatus on the show, and then Ethan started attacking him because Hassan was being anti-genocide and anti-Zionist. North Star Radio is another creator who he's done a really good video about why the leftovers will never come back. Fantastic video, Comrade Casey. We love Comrade Casey around here. So other creators who have come out of the woodwork with the content nuke Hassan situation, Chris Kunzler, fantastic creator. He's done Middle East history. Oh, has he done a master's and he's or honors or I think he's going to get his PhD. But he's very clever, very up with it. Speaks the language. I think he speaks Farsi and Arabic. Don't quote me. Who else is that? Overzealot's amazing. I'll link everybody in. Like, who am I though? But I would recommend them definitely. And the Do Not Worry podcast with Anthony. Love Do Not Worry. They are out of Lebanon. Used to be and created their show based on H3. Loved H3, and but couldn't take the Zionist talking points and started actively debunking them, and then got shat on, and is called Millhouse, and they think that's an own. There's so much like self-owning, and Ethan Klein projects like Donald Trump for realsies. Just shout out on the Do Not Worry podcast. I love Corrine. She's my favorite. She's the best. I love her. Like, she doesn't pull punches. I love her. And Noah is as sweet as anything. And even though I'm a dog person, I do enjoy the cats, especially when Anthony is solo hosting. Marky and Nata. I forgot Marky's name the other day. Marky is gorgeous. What's happening? Minnie does this thing where she'll fully just go to town on the nipples. I don't want to say that again. Anyway, love the crew, love the boys as well, but the girls, you know what I'm saying. All right. Next up is me kissing my dog from the other day, and then an hour and like nearly 2 hours of talking. Oh, hang on. Yeah, nearly 2 hours. Shit. Hope you like it. Having a dog moment. What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you sad? Right. You jump as half on. You look like tap on. She looks like she's got no shirt on because her jumper's like so far down. It's like one fly hanging around. Oh, Mabel wants to get up there. Come on. Can someone jump in with Murphy? No, not you. Come over. What's happening? It's the dog show. I was just reading through, so after I filmed my video, I was watching a Denims fan channel. So, guys, people at H3, people in the H3 cult, can I just make a statement that Denims fan channels, clip channels, get ready, I'm about to blow your mind. Denims, the channels that Denims fans make and put on YouTube, upload clips of her streams, are not Denims.
So I filmed an hour last night that didn't record because my hard drive filled up. Don't you love it? The content nuke was supposed to expose Hassan. It didn't. It was regurgitated points that have already been debunked, and Bad and Panada has a video breaking it all the way down. It's 4 hours because he did lots of commentary. He broke down every point with proof. Here's evidence. This is how this is not true. This is how this is true. And since then, a lot more people have been talking about him and H3. When I mention Ethan Klein alone, it always implicates the crew. The crew are definitely, at this point in time, complicit. They have been there, as Ethan has been spewing all the points that I'm going to bring up in the video later, and even assist him in research. AB Ayad is Lebanese. His father is a prominent person at CARE, and he and his wife are from Dearborn, Michigan, which has a high Muslim population and definitely represent the people that Ethan and Hila Klein disrespect quite regularly. And, like when Ethan eventually did debate Hassan, who's looking for points for him? It's AB Ayad, isn't it? And I think that when you are somebody who is taking a Zionist side against somebody like a population being genocided, doesn't matter what you say or do, you are taking money from a Zionist, AB and Lena, his wife, have done streams for Palestine. Lena she was going to be in this creator class. She was going to come out in a robe that had the Palestinian colors. Who gives a fuck? It looks like a token effort when you are laundering the reputation of a Zionist, and that's what you're doing. And then we have Olivia, who sits there as like girl boss gay, while Ethan absolutely denigrates women. He recently made a video, or in a live stream, called Denims a bitch so many times. Now, do I think calling someone as a bitch is misogynistic? Depends on the context, but the way he was using it, yeah, it was. He wanted to call her a cunt. We know it. And even now, you can tell he's restraining himself. He wants to call her a bitch. Absolutely, he does. And he does it in private. Absolutely. So she, didn't say a word. Just let Ethan call this other woman who was just responding to his out of context clipping and giving people context. And she was a bitch, apparently, because she was watching the content nuke and thinking about what she was going to say. Nothing to say. Nothing to say. It's quite a memeable moment. The other thing, when Ethan was originally going after Mika's rhetoric, Mika is amazing. She's really highly educated, so smart. They were making fun of her looks. Yeah. Where were you there for that, Olivia? Do you condone bullying? You sit on that, all of those people sit on that podcast, letting this man just go hog wild with Zionism. 1.2 million views. I'm suing these creators. Yeah, he's just doing this for content. Ridiculous. 112 views. It's not so good. Everything is about Hassan, about Denims, about whatever, like it's all. This show used to be fucking, I know, about goofs and gaffs, and now it's just like bullying, basically. Good job, crew. Also, it looks like Ethan is actually going through a crash out, and I mean, he's obsessing. He looks very thin and not well. He's asking his crew for their ADHD medication. His Tourette's has been exacerbated. He looks like he's aged, 10 years in the last two. This man is not well. He's not healthy. And I don't have to be a doctor to know that. Also, recovering addict, so I can see things from my perspective. You can see that this is bad for his health. And no shame to Ozempic. I take Ozempic. I lost 30 kilos taking Ozempic. Didn't make me a Zionist, though. Didn't exacerbate my mental health, although I've heard it can. Yeah. So that's not it either. And I think that they are not being good friends. And his wife is not being a good wife by just allowing him to spiral like this. Like, and he's trolled before with shit like this, right? Is he trolling? Because if he is, he's fucking sick. And the crew are too if they're going to go along with it. They are not good friends if they are not encouraging him to knock it the fuck off and to log off for a period of time and get his fucking mind together, because it's not good. But will they do that? No, because there's content to make, right? Man, how did that get so long? Anyway, the crew's complicit. The end. And we're back. I was falling asleep last night, so I would like to define a few terms. You see, Murphy. He upside down. Oh, look, I made a new Lego. Ta-da! She's pretty. Let's define Zionism, all right? Being a Zionist is not the same as being Jewish. Zionism is a movement for originally this comes from Oxford Languages. A movement for originally the re-establishment and now the development and protection of a Jewish nation in what is now Israel. It was established as a political organization in 1897 under Theodor Herzl and was later led by Chaim Weizmann. Hey, she got the pronunciations okay. So, put simply, it's a nationalist movement that advocates for a homeland for the Jewish people in the biblical land of Israel, if you believe in that version of Christianity. There are Jewish people who are native to that land, but a lot of is it the Ashkenazi Jews? Yeah. So, once there was an influx of Ashkenazi Jews to that area, that's post World War II, that's when we saw the build up or the creation of Israel. There was only one problem with it, and it was a pretty big problem. People already lived there. The Palestinian people already lived in Palestine, and there is definitely proof that it's been there for a long time. Were there Jewish people around? Absolutely. Sephardic, is that how I pronounce it? Sephardic Jews were around all over the Middle East and in African countries. There is a myth that they were all expelled from Middle Eastern countries and had to come to Israel for refuge, but that isn't accurate. Israel worked actively with the governments of those companies to get them expelled so that they could build their numbers in Israel. And that's what they've been doing since, because they actively believe in the Great Replacement theory, where they think that if they don't replace the Palestinian people, they're going to become extinct in that area. It's unfounded because, yes, do the Palestinians want their land back? Yes, but they don't want to kill everybody. unlike a lot of Israelis. Many people support what's going on. There's a few things that happen around that time, specifically World War II, which I do know a lot about. And the Holocaust happened. 6 million Jews were killed. 11 million people were killed overall. The Jewish group was where a major percentage of people were killed, obviously. And the thought was, this can't happen again, which I completely agree with. I've watched this old miniseries called, oh shit, what is it called? Maybe it's called The Holocaust? It's got Meryl Streep in it, a very young Meryl Streep. It's like, maybe it was in the 80s or 70s, 80s. Anyway, in that TV miniseries, follows the life of many different people during World War II, including like a fictional sort of story about Rudolf Hoss, because it kind of combines a few different people in that, like as in he was called Rudolf Hoss, but there was a couple of different things that happened to him. And at the end, I do recall that one of the Jewish resistance fighters goes to Israel. And I remember being really happy for him. And there were children playing soccer, and there's 5,000 Ashkenazi Jews in New Zealand. Wow. This has just come up on my on the Google page. Don't use the AI. Don't use AI as much as you can. All right, it's bad for the environment. Yeah, I remember being really happy. I'm like, yes, finally they can have a place where they can be safe. But I didn't know where they were going had people already living there, and basically it's a modern colonial project. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was a modern colonial project, and what we're seeing right now happened in Australia to our Indigenous population, who are the oldest living culture on the planet and have survived despite a very vigorous effort to get rid of them. And guess what? That's going to happen to the Palestinians too. You will never get rid of them. And we will remember everything that you said and did. The Americans did it with the American Indians, all over Asia. It happened all over, right? We just didn't have cameras. We didn't have a live stream of that particular genocide happening, and we do with this one. Was it just as disgusting then? Probably. Maybe worse, because it was more like it wasn't as frowned upon. I don't think it was frowned upon at all. People believed that they were the dominant human, and so they did what they liked. So that's Zionism. Okay, so there's another type of Zionism, which is Christian Zionism. And so in bed in this thing, straight up Zionists, who are Jewish people, usually. And then we have Christian Zionists, and they make up the bulk of the support in America. Their belief, Christian Zionism, is a millenarian movement with many Christian denominations, often from a Protestant evangelical perspective, and it follows the belief of the Jewish right of return based on the Old Testament covenant made by God with Abraham. I'll read this out. What are the Christian Zionist beliefs? This is relevant, I promise. Christian Zionists are premillennial dispensationalists who believe that the return of the Jews to their homeland heralds the beginning of the biblically prophesied end times. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 was viewed by Christian Zionists as being the historical event of greatest importance in heralding the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Christian Zionism holds that the return of Christ will be heralded by the rapture, in which true believers will be taken to meet Jesus in an otherworldly realm. Oh, and everybody else remains on earth, and the way that we know that they've been raptured is that their clothes are left behind. So there's all these naked people meeting Jesus, and Jesus be like, I'm the Messiah. You don't want to dress up? You don't want to jerk on some socks? So interesting. However, for the majority, the rapture will be preceded by the return of the Jews to the Holy Land and the conversion of Jews to Christian belief. After the rapture, there will be a period of 7 years in which the world is plunged into turmoil, violence, and misery caused by natural disasters, by war, and by dictatorial regimes. I don't believe in it, but that's what's happening right now. Jesus will then return to earth with his true believers to reign for 1,000 years. What? Just 1,000 years? During this period of Christ's rule, Jerusalem will serve as the capital of the entire world. Oh, do you mean there'll be no borders? There's just be Jerusalem, world. No borders? Because that'd be nice. I could sign up for that if there were no borders. Anyway, Dr. Tristan Sturm writes, Jews are seen as the chosen people of the earth and are therefore to be unwaveringly supported as God's army soldiering toward the apocalypse. Protestant Christians, on the other hand, are understood as the chosen people of heaven and a post-millennial earth. So basically, they need all the Jews to go to Israel. That's what they think. And then everybody's going to die unless they convert. But then they'd have to be true believers to go to heaven. So there are a bunch of people who believe this, including the US envoy to Israel, who was Mike Huckabee. There's a whole bunch of them. And basically, they're anti Semitic. Those people are anti Semitic. They think the only function for the Jews is to go and die so that my savior can come back. So yeah, it's terrible. And what Benjamin Netanyahu does when he invokes the name of the victims of the Holocaust as a reason to be doing what they're doing today is more disrespectful than anything anyone's ever done since the Holocaust. Your reason for doing a Holocaust can't be because of the Holocaust. Like, never again for anybody means never again for anybody. And there are millions of Jewish people who are against this, who are speaking out even at the risk of being called anti-Semitic, even if they're Jewish. Yeah, these people are disgusting. And Ethan Klein, he's a Zionist. He supports the state of Israel and he spreads their propaganda, aka Hasbara. The Hasbara that they have it's very strong, it's very insidious, and it's very covert. And I think that's what makes it so dangerous. You could be getting Israeli propaganda fed to you and you don't even know. And I think I even fell for it with a lot of the movies that I watched about World War II, which, I used to love Quentin Tarantino. Inglourious Bastards is a masterpiece of cinema. And I fucking loved it forever. Like, I loved it. The script, their director of photography is always like brilliant, like one of the all-time best cinematographers. And yeah, there was propaganda in that, but there were Jewish resistance fighters. And I've done reading like the Warsaw. I've been planning this damn book, and it was going to be about Australia, but using the story of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising because I was so inspired by that story. They also have things like the brand of videos where Palestinians are being persecuted. They have a name for it. They call it Pallywood because they think they're trying to say that the videos are fake. It's Pallywood, Palestine Hollywood. Disgusting. And the function of something like Pallywood, from the Israeli point of view, is to give a permission structure for the cruelty towards the Palestinians because they can say, oh, look, they're okay. It's all propaganda. They're not actually hurt. Look at them. They're, trying to get you to empathize with them, but it's fake, and that's where I don't know if you would have enough awareness to realize that, or you watch it and you don't want to realize that. You just go along with that because the reality is horrifying, you know? And that's the whole function of Israeli propaganda, which Ethan Klein is guilty of also perpetuating. The point of this video is to talk about how harmful Ethan Klein is using his very public platform to promote Zionist and Israel talking points. And as a result, the genocide continues. Okay, I'm not saying that he's directly responsible for the genocide continuing. It's a machine with little cogs, and here's a cog that helps that machine run. There are many cogs, including the government, Trump, Netanyahu, the Israeli people, the rest of the world, complicit media, many, many different parts of it. And if we can do anything to stop one of those cogs, that's what we should be doing. I know that myself, I didn't know a lot about the history of Israel Palestine, and having had all of that knowledge about World War II, what would you have done in World War II, blah blah blah. And if I wasn't speaking out against it, then I would have been with the Nazis, and that's That's what it is. It's that serious. And it's not just slop tuba drama. He has considerable influence on the platform. He completely doxed somebody. And actually, he's doxed more than one person on the show and hasn't been like received any punishment. I think he's been demonetized a few times, but like he's got N-word compilations and he's done blackface and all of this horrendous history, and he is still like YouTube's darling. And I think that's really gross. Like I think that if we can do something about it, speak up, even though he's a crybaby and even though he weaponizes the legal system, it's worth saying something, because if you don't, silence is complicity. We know what happened to Julius Stryker, and we have many Julius Strikers, many. And it's really disgusting to see people debase themselves for this, especially these like unrelated, not Jewish politicians in America, like Richie Torres. Really? APAC? Really? You're going to give up everything for that APAC money? Wow. I hope you're investing it, man, because that's not going to last. You're getting primaried, and then when you don't have power, they're not going to give you any money. So I hope you're really taking care of your money, dude. It's so funny that America is always like, we're the greatest power in the world, and you're led by Benjamin Netanyahu. He has led Biden and Trump around like a dog. Come on, heel, sit, good dog. Gimme, gimme that, gimme the weapons. Give it back, come on. Sit, gimme the weapons. Good dog. It's a death cult. So is MAGA. But all right, let's talk about the lies that Ethan Klein is spreading. When I'm on live stream, the dogs actually know when I'm about to get off. They know when I'm wrapping up a live stream. They actually know the words, and you can see them excitedly getting ready to go to the toilet. Because that's what we do immediately after a live stream is I take them out to the bathroom. So when I grab my iPad, it usually means we're going to bed. So they like they got excited for no reason just then. All right. Ethan Klein claims to be like anti-terrorist. Uh, he's not a good person. He's currently suing 3 women, 2 Arab women, for reacting to his content news. And he is claiming that these women violated his copyright because they said not to give Ethan the views. But copyright isn't about how many views you get. It's about the actual content and transforming it. That's why there's all these people who are like saying, "Oh, all these lawyers in the comments. Yeah, you don't even know Ethan." They outright said they wanted to take views from him. Well, Denims did at the end of her stream. So there wasn't the intent that, like it's so ridiculous. And this is clearly a rich man trying to intimidate, harass, and bully smaller creators and women. He hates women. Yeah, I don't care if he has 2 women on his, or however many women on his crew. They're a part of it, because he has been using these sign as talking points for nearly 2 years now. I hope the money's worth it, guys. Is it? Is the money worth it? Maybe it is. Who knows? Betcha it eats away at your conscience, though. Especially if you are Arab. And I've also seen the argument that, oh, well, you're just reducing those creators to being women. They're more than that. You don't think so? They call them whores and bitches and cunts and threaten to rape them and kill them. I know Denims and Frogan. Frogan's a queen. I love her. I love you, Frogan. You're one. You're amazing. And I really like Denims as well. I haven't watched Kaseytron about. I hadn't even heard of her. But my favorite thing about Denims is when she's like talk, 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 talk. And she's like, thank you for the song. Thank you for the song. It's very sweet when she says that. Her response was over 2 hours, so that is fair use. She's added commentary. It's transformative. Okay, so in the United States, fair use allows limited use of copyrighted material without permission for purposes like criticism, commentary, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research. Yeah, it was a commentary video, and it was commentary. So it was commentary. It was commentary. They added commentary. Effects of the use upon the potential market for value of the copyrighted work. Them watching it, and even if they stated that they wanted to take views away, guess what? That didn't happen. The actual there's no damages because he didn't lose. He that got many million. They were small channels that did not take away. What about Asmongold, who got over 1 million views, and XQC, who got millions of views as well? So this is not about money. It's not about attacking the copyrighted work, etc., etc. It's about punishing these women. And now he's added Sean Black to it. Women and a black guy. And he is actively playing like he's being an absolute jerk, that even in the H3H3 subreddit, they're calling him out and saying this is too far, this is a bit messy. Although we'd still have people in there going, no, they did this, they called CPS, and they're the ones who stole his content. They're such automatons, like it's ridiculous. And he's saying things like, "I'll drop the Sean Black case if Taylor Lorenz and Kat Tembage apologize for calling me misogynistic." So let's get this straight. You want to bully two women into apologizing for being misogynistic, and then you'll drop a lawsuit against an unrelated third party. And Kat Tenbarge has a screenshot. She said other people were calling you misogynistic. She's just reporting on it. So she didn't call you misogynistic. But you're bullying two women. And if they don't do it, you're going to go after the black guy, not the flex you think it is, you know? And now he's saying, because he said, oh, their apologies. Taylor Lorenz did apologize, but it wasn't good enough. He thought it was sarcastic. Anyway, and she said, if this is going to save Taylor Lorenz, this is going to save Sean Black from getting sued, I'm sorry, Ethan, for calling you misogynistic. And it wasn't a good enough. Oh, and he said snark as well. Sorry, H3H3 snark needs to apologize and pin it. I just went to that subreddit. No one's posted in there in like months. Do you want them to post again? Because you're not getting the content. Because this is what it's about for him. It's about punishing those women and Sean Black and milking this for content. This man is using genocide for content. He's a disgusting pig, and I'll stand by that and probably get a lot of hate. Like I said, I'm a high school teacher. I've been hated. It's not very nice, but I've been hated by worse than Ethan Klein. That's really what pushed me to make this video, because some things is like I would like to be on the record as not doing this. Like when they were doing the eating the cats and the dogs, like that, it was such misinformation. You know, I haven't made political content in a little bit, but we're back, baby. Yes, I am taping this over many different days, but I just want to make sure I got everything clear. And I just want to say, do you know why Ethan has such a hate boner for Frogan? Well, he was following her. I don't know if it was on IG or Twitter, but he quietly unfollowed her and she mentioned it. And then since that day, he's been coming after her. And I mean, in the screenshots of their names, you can see how big these content creators are. Hassan's the biggest one, but all these other creators are 100K or less or so, some much less, and he's got 6 million, well, 5.6. And, he thinks that's a fair fight, which is interesting for a Zionist because, of course. It's an hour into the video and I haven't really talked about how the Kleins are Zionists. It's coming. This is kind of like a guide for normies, and hopefully the call to action is to boycott H3, try to get YouTube to do some action, but I don't hold much faith in that. However, we can but try and be on the record of being on the right side of history on this particular thing. And look, Frogan gets so much hate, and whenever anybody is trying to, make her look bad, they play the 9/11 clip. Play that clip of her saying she thinks that American soldiers deserve their PTSD because 9/11 wasn't an excuse to do the harm that they did.
That's not the whole context of the quote. She was talking about those people who come back and they are still patriotic and love their country and are MAGA fools. The people who come back and are ashamed of their service and try to make amends for it, she's not talking about those people. So if you come back and you don't reckon with your harm, then yeah, I don't have much sympathy for you either. Same with the IDF people, because there's plenty of IDF soldiers, ex-soldiers who now are trying to make amends. Not a Hila Klein though. She loves talking, like, she loves Israel. Thinks the IOF, sorry, not IDF, IOF is doing great jobs. She had a reel last week where she was like, Israeli women are heroes, on a video from a female Israeli pilot who had just done bombings in Iran, killing civilians. Sure, is heroic. She said she apologized, but she just said it wasn't really like, it had the feeling of an apology, but it wasn't actually an apology. Okay. So they spread the beheading of the babies. Now, some people may not know that Israel and the Gaza Strip and any hotspot area like that is heavily surveilled. There is close CCTV everywhere, drones. It's They work with Palantir, like everything is surveilled. So if there were some of these things that they talked about that happened on October 7th, yeah, there'd be video footage. And we know that it would be leaked because every other horrific thing that has been done has been leaked. It just gets leaked, you know? October 7th was an attack that Hamas planned. On the morning of October 7th, Hamas-led Palestinian armed groups carried out numerous coordinated attacks, including on civilian residential communities and social events and on Israeli military bases in the area of southern Israel bordering the Gaza Strip. The armed groups attacked at least 19 kibbutzim and 5 moshavim, cooperative communities, the cities of Sderot, Ofakim, 2 music festivals and a beach party. The fighting lasted much of the day and in some cases longer. Across many sites, Palestinian fighters fired directly at civilians, often at close range, as they tried to flee, and at people driving through the area. The attackers hurled grenades, shot into shelters, and fired rocket-propelled grenades at homes. They set houses on fire, burning and choking people and forcing out others whom they shot or captured. They took dozens hostages and summarily killed others. They didn't mention rapes or beheadings, okay? Yeah, it's really bad that civilians died. Why were you having a music festival beside an open-air concentration camp, which is what Gaza was? Now it's just destroyed. Everything in Gaza is restricted. Water, you can't get water, you can't collect rainwater, etc. Everything. Yeah, people couldn't come and go. If you leave, you're not allowed to come back. There's no right of return, which is supposed to be, if you're a refugee, you're supposed to have right of return. Yeah, so there's been a lot of things said about that. And then, of course, there's the Hannibal Directive. But the beheaded babies was a lie that was repeated by Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a vehement Zionist and was mentally unsound through most of his presidency. And he was taken advantage. He owns it. Absolutely, he owns that, what he did to the Palestinian people. He's a war criminal and a gross, disgusting man who wouldn't step down when he promised that he was only an interim president. He didn't build anyone up, didn't have a primary. He fucked everybody over for his own fucking hubris. Him and Trump, peas in a pod. Yeah, so his entire team, blood on their hands. Anthony Blinken, what's that guy with the fucking snaky smile? He was on a podcast saying, "Oh, that's what I had to say. That's my job. I had to say it." Yeah, that's what the Nazis said too, and they still got fucking hung. Scumbags. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that in the content nuke, when they're talking about the depravity of Hamas, which, yeah, was that depraved? Yeah, but what happened before then? Because I have read a lot about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, and they had this general who came in, Stroop. There's pictures. It's actually quite well documented. And when they got word that the ghetto was being liquidated,
See what we do with language there? Guess what liquidating a ghetto means? Killing everybody. It doesn't sound so bad when you say liquidated, right? This sounds very almost scientific. Anyway, when they got word that it was over, everybody was getting shipped now, that's when the last resistance of Warsaw goes, right, this is our time, we're going to do it. And they killed some of the Germans, some of the Nazis. And I do remember at the time saying, that's great. I'm so glad that they did that. It's about time that they got some lives back. You know, they have been degraded and slaughtered, made to fight each other and be traitors to each other, you know, just for their own survival. I can understand that. Absolutely, I can understand your desire to survive, it beating out your desire to be loyal to someone else, you know? And I am sure that there are many people who survived the Holocaust who did disgusting things that they would never want to think about again. And survivor's guilt is real. So, you know, like I never judged the Warsaw Resistance for that. I didn't think that it was a bad thing. Fuck those guys. They'll come to kill them. And when we reframe it and put Palestinians in the role as the resistance and the IOF or Israelis as the Germans and Nazis, different story if we're thinking about it like that. Children are innocent. Civilians shouldn't be killed. No, that's true. I don't know how to judge somebody like that because I haven't walked a mile in their shoes. I haven't been oppressed. Okay. I haven't been colonized. I haven't had my who I am questioned. I haven't had my humanity questioned and haven't been treated like an animal before. I don't know what that's like. So that's just what happened. I'm not going to place any judgment on it. And then we have the Hannibal Directive, right? It's called the Hannibal Directive. And this is when, during October 7th, Israeli troops were ordered to shoot and kill captive Israeli citizens on 7th of October 2023. Israel's then defense minister admitted this week. That was 7th of February 2025. So they kill people. Do you wonder why we haven't got like video footage of things? I think we could see that the Israelis were killing some people. How many people did Hamas kill? And how many people did the IOF kill? That'd be interesting to know. I don't think we'll ever know that though. And a lot of people are talking about the hostages. Those people, there might be one or two hostages that are civilians, but they're actually prisoners of war. Like then they're usually IOF soldiers, right? And they're well treated by Hamas. The difference between the hostages who come back from the Israelis to those that are released by Hamas, night and day. We'll talk more about what captivity is like for Palestinians. Yeah, so that's some of the facts that have come out about it. So the beheaded babies and cooked in ovens, I also heard, because you just need to kick it up a notch, apparently. Never been proven. Systematic rapes, never been proven. Is it possible that rapes happen? Probably. I imagine that some people, when they're treated like an animal, that they take on that. And yeah, is that bad? Absolutely. It's disgusting. No one should be raped. Does it justify the genocide? No. Nothing does. Nothing justifies a genocide. Rape, baby murder, whatever. Even the beheading of babies. Nope. Go after the person who did it, not every Palestinian. And these are things that Ethan Klein has repeated as if factual. And his audience, who is still there, does not care to fact check him. Next, they talk about how Hamas uses human shields and that they have command centers built under schools and hospitals. I'm just going to play an excerpt from Chris Kunzler's video about, I think it was titled The Confused Zionism of Ethan Klein. And I'm going to there's a little excerpt from H3 from the pod with Ethan, and then a breakdown by Chris Kunzler. I'm going to let it play. It's just a little part of 1 hour video. I think what he's
he can sum it up better than me. And also, go watch his video. It's amazing.
When civilians fucking get murdered in Gaza, that's a dub for Hamas because it raises it creates more pressure on Israel from outside forces. You've got more people talking, more people outraged. So it's both. Israel is blowing up buildings and killing a ton of innocent people. But people who pretend that Hamas is anything but a fucking barbaric terrorist group that intentionally kills its own people for political gain is lying to themselves, dude. Holy shit. They literally put fucking command centers under hospitals. That's not even debated. They were keeping some of the hostages in hospitals too. It seems like a lot of them ran through hospitals. That's it. I mean, just logical, right?
Now, for someone who is self-proclaimed to be against the genocide in the Gaza Strip and also pro-Palestinian, to hear a talking point like this spread is truly disgusting. You cannot reconcile these two things because all of the evidence points to the fact that Israel has lied. It has been unable to support outrageous claims that it made, such as the claim that there was a terror base and command center under the Al-Shifa hospital that was used to raid it, to make patients there suffer. And I mean, babies literally died in their incubators because they had to be left. They rotted and decomposed because of talking points like this. It has arrested Palestinian doctors, tortured them to death, perhaps even sexually, like Adnan al-Burj. But for pro-Palestinian, anti-genocide Ethan Klein, there's no debate about it.
There was a quote there where Ethan was like, well, Hamas is making Israel attack them, something along those lines.
I mean, listen, I feel like this is a force that's going to help end the war, not fucking keeping hostages and underground and like continuing to provoke Israel to attack them.
To say that Hamas is provoking Israel to attack them is beyond disgusting and misleading. Okay? Because they are not attacking Hamas. They are attacking the Palestinian people, all of them. Okay? Collective punishment like that is a war crime. And this is Ethan basically saying it's fine. They're being provoked. They have to attack. What else could we possibly do? And again, as Chris said, this is a level of violence that is perpetuated by repeating the lies that Israel tells. Does Ethan believe it? I don't know. But it doesn't matter whether he does or not, because he's repeating it. There's a really good video by Sean. I'm going to put a playlist in the comments for people to watch. Yeah, so Sean has a video about the hospital. You see, the difference with Hasbro now as to Hasbro previously is that people, like, they're live streaming this. So when the Israeli propaganda machine says there is a command center under this hospital, well, somebody is live streaming and they go, we're in the hospital. I am literally in the hospital. There is no command center. And the people and the tunnels that are built under Gaza are Israeli. Like, it's so silly. And also, doesn't mean you should bomb the school or the hospital, even if there was a command center under there. What the fuck? How many innocent people died? And I've seen more than one person burning alive in a hospital or a school. Just the worst, most depraved actions that are being justified by Zionists and Ethan Klein. He's also said that Israel isn't an apartheid state. He says, oh, it's 20% Palestinian. Do they have equal rights? Can they get married to a Jewish person? That's not equal rights, dude. There's also a link to comprehensive list of everything that Ethan Klein, every controversy that he has had. I am going to put that link below. It's on Reddit. It includes an N-word compilation. We're going to watch a video later of something disgusting because he claims to care about, like, rape victims. He's done blackface. He has talked inappropriately about minors. He's been sexually inappropriate. He's been ableist. He's been homophobic. It's pretty bad. So he has talked about the Great Replacement theory. And I think I mentioned it before that he thinks that if the Israelis don't have enough people and there's a one-state solution, he believes that the Palestinians will exact their revenge on the Israelis because he's thinking like an Israeli, right? The Palestinian people, yeah, there'll probably be people who want revenge, like, no doubt. But everybody else just wants to go home. They just want to go and live their lives and not have to worry about scrounging for food and being in a tent and having no other
protection from the world, losing their parents, losing their limbs. Like, they want a normal life. And I don't understand why Israelis just are so bloodthirsty. That's not Jewish people. I'm talking strictly about the Israelis who believe in the genocide. He thinks equal rights equals the death of Jewish people. He says there is no safe place in this world for Jews than no safer place in the world for Jews than Israel, which is actually not true. It's a very dangerous place to be because it's a war zone of Israel's choosing. Yeah, there are hate crimes, but generally Jews are safe in America. They're safe in Australia. They're safe in a lot of places. You know who's not safe? Palestinians. In America, you know who's not safe? Latino people. Latinos, anyone brown. So, yeah, miss me with that.
Since the bombing of Iran by Israel, which was unprovoked, Ethan has come out and said some things about Iran, of course. And again, harkening back to the bite model, the language control of calling them good and evil. And he has straight up said, Iran is evil. This is all their fault. They're evil. Like, because he's a simpleton, but also because it controls the cult. It's, you're either with us or against us. It has to be that, or it's too complicated. And it's repeated over and over and over again. He makes the claim that Iran was behind Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Triple H. Was there a wrestler called Triple H? For the record, Hamas was born out of an organization called the Muslim Brotherhood, and it has ties to Israel. They were secretly funding them and helping them along because they wanted to oppose the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, and their theory was the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It didn't work out like that, and have Hamas and the others possibly taken Iran money or Iran help? Yes, but Qatar is probably in there as well, and more. Like, who knows? Why do Americans say Qatar like Qatar? Qatar? That's weird. Qatar. I don't know. Anyway, so Ethan had some things to say about the bombing of Iran.
Israel started bombing Iran. Of course, the simplistic man said, well, Iran is evil. They have our Ayatollah. He's evil. Where those people want to be, they want to be liberated. The women, yeah, they don't like their women over there. Have you seen what they're doing to women in America? Women are dying because they can't get reproductive health care. They just kept this poor woman alive as a human incubator. She was brain dead and she had a baby, and they kept her alive because of the baby. Her family wanted to take her off life support, and the government wouldn't let her. It's disgusting. So women's rights are being violated constantly in America. So miss us with the pink washing. Same with, oh, well, go to Iran or go to Palestine and be gay. They'll throw you off a roof. No. And also be trans or gay in America. It like was it a few weeks ago? Very high profile homosexual man who was the voice of John Redcorn, sorry. He was the chief on Parks and Rec. Killed for being gay. So tell us again how you're going to liberate those gay people and fucking women when it's not happening in your own backyard. Should somebody bomb you in America? Maybe. Anyway, Hamas is stealing the aid. Nope. In fact, I think it's been found that Israel's funding ISIS to steal it. Netanyahu says Israel fighting Hamas in various ways amid claims it armed ISIS-affiliated Gaza militia. Israeli lawmaker Avigdor Lieberman alleged Netanyahu is now supporting a new militia to counter Hamas. Sources told Haaretz last week that an armed group tied to Yasser Abu Shabab has recently begun operating in southern Gaza. Israel is providing weapons to a jihadist group on the Gaza Strip affiliated with ISIS, opposition lawmaker and former defense minister Avigdor Lieberman said Thursday. Responding to the allegation, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said Israel is working to defeat Hamas in various ways. On the recommendation of all heads of the security establishment. It's not in denial. In an interview with Can Bet Radio, public radio, Lieberman said that similar to how Netanyahu propped up Hamas as a counterweight to the PA, I think that's Palestinian Action, he is now helping establish a new armed force as a counterweight to Hamas. Oh, was Hamas created by Netanyahu? Last week, two sources told Haaretz that the new militia had recently begun operating in the southern Gaza Strip, saying it is linked to a man identifying himself as Yasser Abu Shabab. Videos circulating on social media in recent days appeared to support the claim, showing armed Palestinians in Gaza wearing standard military gear, including vests, helmets, and insignia such as the Palestinian flag, and a patch labeled anti-terror services in both English and Arabic. So, great. At the end of last year, amid a surge in looting of humanitarian in southern Gaza, Abu Shabab and his men were widely accused of being behind the theft. In November 2024, phone interview with the Washington Post, Abu Shabab did not fully deny the allegations, saying that his group avoided taking food, tents, or supplies intended for children. Also, they did take them, just not all of them. And in the last few weeks, a organization called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and they have been limiting the amount of food they are providing, but they're also killing people. It's been called a killing field, and people are rolling up desperate for food because they are being starved purposely. It is a forced famine, and absolutely is a war crime. And so the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has had IDF soldiers. It is a private operator that is backed by the US and Israel, and the private contractors are even shooting at the people. It was in Haaretz that the IOF soldiers have been ordered to fire on the people. And you can see these horrendous lineups just to get flour. Flour, that's all that. And it's this stark white and red that is just what do you do? I heard a heartbreaking story about a man who he was the only one able to go to get food, and he was injured, and now he can't go anywhere, and he didn't get any food, and he is responsible for his elderly family. And there's another harrowing footage of a little boy who's crying and screaming into the camera, and he's shoving sand into his mouth, we have nothing, we can't eat anything. And this is a choice. It's a choice, and it's being done by Israel with the backing of America. It is a travesty. It is a blight on human history, and those who supported it will have that mark on them forever. And that includes Ethan Klein. It's a long way away from sitting in their comfy little fucking studio to Gaza, right? And apparently there's been I saw a little, when I was looking for the name of the foundation, it says that even the killing that's gone on there, Netanyahu is blaming Hamas for it. So, what hope do they have? They're just being lied to. And I mean, that's MAGA all over. All these people celebrating the big, beautiful bill, and it's going to kick them off Medicaid and SNAP benefits, and it's going to kill people. But they're like, at least we owned the libs. We owned them. Yeah. So, yet another lie that Ethan Klein is helping to spread, perpetuate, and continue the abuse of the Palestinian people. He didn't give a fuck. He's also said that the Hamas leaders were billionaires living it up in Qatar. That they're just living it up. Party, party. But where did Yahya Sinwar die? Anyone? Was he in one of those like wonderful opulent hotel rooms? Surely he was, like, living it up in Qatar. No, he died in in the remains of a building. He was in Gaza and he was there with the people. He wasn't like Benjamin Netanyahu, who, as soon as Iran started bombing them back, got on a plane to Greece. Ooh, ooh, they're bombing us back. Oh no. Did the bullies finally pick somebody who would fight back? He's so disgusting. Yeah, so living it up in Qatar doesn't happen, not happening, and Yahya Sinwar died with his people. If you have seen footage of that, it's really I found it very harrowing because it's drone footage and I can't imagine how terrified the children must be of drones. Like it would be like just the sound of it. Fucking awful. So you see him and the drone approaches him and he looks and you can see like, oh fuck, he's done. Like he knows he's done. And what does he do? He throws a stick at it. So tell us again how like diabolical and how rich and blah 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 that that Hamas is. When one of their, key figures dies throwing a stick. It's upsetting to be honest. One of the other things that they do is they use the word Gazans instead of Palestinians because there is an active plan of trying to erase Palestinians. They don't want them to exist because then, if you can get rid of them and go to Arab countries, the other Arab nations, then there's no more Palestinians, right? They're just gone and the land is ours. It's a type of ethnic cleansing. And it's better to use Palestinians than Gazans because it erases that identity. You can remember Rudy Giuliani at his insane hair dye rant at Madison Square Gardens, where he's like, "There's no such thing as a Palestinian," and he said, "Palestinians are taught at 2 years old to kill us." I thought it was just hate, but no, it was kill. I just double checked the quote, "Kill." And Hila Klein is like, "Well, like you're not going to dispute that." She has a child around about that age. Come on now. He's platformed many terrible voices. Okay. Lonabox is one who Lonabox said that the snipers thought that the children and babies were soldiers. Children and babies. Snipers through the head. Yeah. Among many other Hasbro. Lonabox was also gifted a trip to Israel with Alon Levy, who was Benjamin Netanyahu's spokesman. Yeah, gross. The other bad people that he is platforming, Asmund Gold, Dan Saltman, Sam Hyde, Mitaha, Some Ordinary Gamers, Nicholas Diorio, Harley Morenstein. Yeah, just all the worst humans. And mind you, these people used to hate Ethan. And Nicholas Diorio and those guys are friends with Keemstar. They have always called Healer a horse. They would send pictures of a horse to him, and now they're in there. Now those creators are in the H3 chat. That's who you got in the chat, guys? Cringe. Healer even sent Nicholas Diorio a super chat that says, "Saint Nick." That man used to be so disrespectful to her. It's just, you'll just take on anyone. And then Harley Morenstein, he was like an OG YouTuber and has found a little bit of notoriety on H3. He's disgusting. He's been at a lot of influencer events, so he spills all this tea. He's like, "Oh, let me tell you about the money I pocket watch." Don't invite him anywhere, YouTubers. He denies being pro-genocide, but parrots all those things I've just said. So yeah. And the Beavis hostages, there were two children, redheaded children. Everybody was wearing this orange because of that. And the mother And Gila made that about herself. That could be me. I could be kidnapped with my children. No, you couldn't. You live in LA. They're not coming for you there. Okay. Yeah, basically anything they what anything that Israel states, they state as fact, even when it's not true. And if, say, their researcher, a BAR, presents an alternative, they immediately challenge it. So when they were first talking about the Iran attacks, they said, I don't think they have killed any civilians in that attack. And AB said, no, I've heard there's been civilian casualties. And Ethan jumped down his throat. Where? I haven't heard that. What's your source? What's the source? And even just that is a way of controlling information. Bite model again, controlling information and behavior. You're not supposed to do that. And that was a lesson for AB that he gets a lot. And we know. And again, is the money worth it? Other things that have been shitty. So just even the language that they use, like I said, with Palestinian. So Hila was in the IOF. They have mandatory service. Now, a lot of people say, well, she can't help it. She was mandatory service, blah, blah. But she told a story about how when she was in the IOF, that she had her first posting, which was not, she didn't really enjoy it. It was paperwork. She said it was boring. She had to wake up early. It's so boring, just oppressing a minority group. Although I don't know that they're minority, but oppressing these people, like, oh, boring. And so then she asked for a transfer. And she said if she didn't end up in a place that was better, that she would try to find a way to get out. So again, tell me that she couldn't have got out of it. Anyway, and then she got a position which involved some travel, and she said it was outside of Ramallah. And she tells a story about, Ethan's asking her questions about it, and he said, so did you like the new position? And she said, yeah, it was like a bit of an adventure, and we all live together and you have to find a way to get along. And that she was a secretary and she used to arrange the logistics for the people. But this was more fun because she went away for a week. She went home on the weekends. Anyway, then she said that she went on a raid with the people who go on raids. And she just said she just wanted to experience it and see what it was like. There is a picture of her holding a gun. She did 8 months of IDF training. So I'm sure that she trained. Okay. I don't know if it was 8 months. She went on this raid and they called it to a terrorist city. No, Ethan says, you told me once you went on a raid to a terrorist city. She said, yep, I went to Ramallah. So he calls Ramallah terrorist city, even though they're the occupying force. And she said they were shooting at them as soon as they entered the borders. And I actually saw this written on somebody's in the comment section, and I thought it immediately, like, I don't think that would be bullets. I bet you somebody was throwing a rock, because like they're not allowed to have weapons and things like that. And there's not a lot of money for it because they're sanctioned and so on. Yeah, and he said, did you arrest anybody? And she said, yes. She went into a house once. And Ethan says, did they bring it in the car with you? He calls the Palestinian prisoner it. And she said no. But she said it was weird, and we, seeing people in their homes and the soldiers just going through their stuff. So yeah, she was just a secretary, but she did all that. And she now she doesn't have any regrets. She has never expressed like, oh, that was really bad and I shouldn't have done that. And and sort of like denounced the IOF. She grew up in Israel, so she's got some interesting points of view. She said, oh, back in the day, you couldn't, like, even they were saying it like it happens now, but you have to know where you're going, because if you get stopped, you won't just get killed by the Palestinians or by Hamas. You won't just get killed by Hamas, you'll get lynched. Let me look up lynchings. Okay, so there was that's why she talked about it. I bet you she knew them. In 2000, the Ramallah, maybe no, she was a bit later, I think, that she did her service.
The 2000 Ramallah lynching was an attack that took place during the Second Intifada on the 12th of October 2000 in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, when a Palestinian crowd of passing funeral marchers broke in and killed 2 Israeli military reservists and then mutilated their bodies. The incident occurred during a funeral for a Palestinian child, Khalil Zaran, who had been killed by Israeli forces 2 days earlier. Yeah, weird that a lynching occurred after that. The 2 Israeli military reservists, Vadim Nahitz and Yosef Avrahami, had accidentally. There's a thing there. Let me see. That is from an Israeli source. Entered the Palestinian Authority-controlled city of Ramallah in the West Bank and were taken into custody by Palestinian Authority policemen, 13 of whom were injured while trying to stop the assault. Tensions had been escalating prior to the incident. Over 100 Palestinians, 24 of them children, had been killed by Israeli forces in the preceding 2 weeks. The escalating violence had been condemned 5 days beforehand by United Nations Security Council Resolution 1322. So, yeah, there was a lynching after a lot of other things that happened. So that's interesting that she talked about lynching when you can only look at it from their point of view. They killed 2 people, right? They 2 people died from it, 13 were injured, and they had killed this child and 100 other people previous to that. So it's almost like a reaction. Is it a sane reaction? No, not at all. Healer is also, like she said that Yoav Gallant was a good guy. Ethan said he was a moderating voice, even though at the beginning of like the genocide, he was saying they are animals, cut them off, no food, no water, no nothing. And yeah, he was a good guy because he wanted a ceasefire. That doesn't make him a good guy. She also said that another creator, Adam McIntyre, he used to be such a big H3 fan and loved Frenemies. He loved them. Yeah, he wised up like most people do and started criticizing them. And all of a sudden now Healer said that he should disappear. He should just disappear. Now, what an interesting choice of words, because there's every sort of word that is chosen for Hasbara is very considered, especially in a time when America is disappearing people, and that's what the Mossad used to do. The IOF, they would disappear somebody. What happened after the content nuke is people were just like, he's cooked, he's crashing out, this is silly. He started a bunch of beefs, sort of came out of Reddit. And not that the content nuke was good, it was not. It was repetition. And also, he does this thing, which is what a lot of slop tubers do, is they go, this is a statement. They'll show a video and they'll think that video just proves their point without saying anything, when it doesn't. Like, Hassan is anti-Semitic, and they'll just play a video. It's like, well, but how is he anti-Semitic? Because he's not actually anti-Semitic. And he does this thing where it's like guilt by association, especially with Frogan. He calls Frogan, Kaseytron, and Denims, he calls them Hassan Orbaners. And Frogan was just a Hassan mod. They're not friends. I mean, they probably are now, but previous to that, like, I don't have any mods, but if I did, it's not big. And I was mods for a couple of anti-MLM people. It was like, we were best friends either. It was very strange, but yeah. So after the content nuke, then we had a couple of people who came to speak out against him, and anyone who was speaking out, he was threatening with legal action. Noah Samson's video was called the YouTubers who backing a genocide, and Ethan wanted to sue him, but he's gone quiet over that one. So that's interesting, because it was just an opinion, but it was really well backed up by Noah Samson. Please watch it. The other thing he was doing at the time too is he said that, and this was his attack of Frogan, continuing attack of Frogan. The slop tubers and the right wing and the incels, they love that he has given them Frogan to attack. Visibly Muslim woman, oh, they love it. It's catnip to them. And
So at TwitchCon, they had a podcast called Arabs, which is like that's what in the 80s, like a racial slur. That's what they used to call the Arabs. Anyway, they did a Habibi tier list, and what that was is that who can say Habibi, which means like I think my love or my cutie or something like that. But it's an endearing term that you say that you call someone. And on the bottom rung, they called it Sabra hummus because Sabra hummus is like not very good. It had nothing to do with Israelis being bad. Like it just wasn't connected to that. And so they put Ethan Klein down the bottom, and he claimed it was a Israeli bad, Muslim good tier list. No, it was a Habibi tier list. Whether you're allowed to say Habibi or not, it was very deep. And he keeps saying, "Oh, nothing ever happens. They never get a ban." They got banned. They got banned off Twitch for a month because of it. And for those people who did get banned, that was their livelihood. Like, he is such a fucking little whingy bitch, and he actually did get them banned. So, yeah, he's not the victim here. Another thing that happened was he claimed that, so he's got a problem with this snark, H3H3 snark. Ethan has made many enemies, right, at the moment. He tells a story from his own mouth about how he thought one of his dogs had giardia, right? And that even if you're really clean, I guess, like this could happen to anyone. But the dog had diarrhea, all right? And then they thought that the child caught the guy, and they went to the vets and said that she had giardia. And then they thought that they noticed that their youngest also had diarrhea, and they thought that giardia could like be spread by ingesting poop. And Ethan told the story about how the child was crawling around, putting everything in his mouth, and then he got sick. And then Healer got sick, and the crew said, "Well, how do we not get sick? We don't want to get sick. How do you avoid this?" And Ethan said, "Well, you have to ingest my poop. Would you like to do that?" And they said, "No, no, no." So even though that's not completely accurate of how it gets caught and transmission, blah, 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 that's what Ethan believed. So Ethan believed that his child caught giardia from putting poop in his mouth. And that means that the child was crawling around in dog poop. Now, if you hear that and you don't really like know any of the situation, you're going, "Holy shit, is that kid okay? Do they normally have dog poo?" Or, like it does open some questions up. And then he went on to say that the child had like this big, awful poop. He describes it very explicitly. It's disgusting. I think he's very poop obsessed, and that's just my opinion. Yeah, and he talks about how he did the change and it was the middle of the night, so he wasn't sure how clean it was. And, like it was really hard to clean. You try your best, but you can't get everything. And then one of the podcasters, CPS, came to our house and he blamed it on everyone, including H3 Snark, Denims Audience, Hassan. They're the ones I remember off the top of my head, but he blamed everyone. Without the self-reflection that he told a fucking story about his dog, about what he thought his child was ingesting, about how there's poop everywhere, and that, like everybody got sick from it. And he was blaming them when he's the one who said it. He accused Denims of telling her chat to do it. She was going to sue him over that, but he made a retraction. And she actively told her chat not to call CPS, and people are still talking about how that was what was happening. If you told your doctor that as a mandatory reporter, they would have reported that. Ethan Klein has played the victim many times, like the CPS things, like, "Oh, I should not have been." They are now like the copyright thing, but also he claimed he had these 2 skulls sent to him. Bad Empanada has debunked this. He sent them to himself. There's a video and there's receipts in the video. It's It's ridiculous. Like, that's how desperate he is to appear as the victim. When the fires were on, when the LA fires were happening and they were evacuating, I think, or getting ready to evacuate, he made an Instagram story about how Hassan must be really excited about Ethan evacuating because then the content nuke might be stopped or something like that. He uses his Instagram to attack people because he doesn't have replies on his Instagram. He's such a like toddler. If the haters are here, I know that you're probably wishing I don't know, you're like, that fat bitch should have a heart attack. She's an old bitch, old fat bitch. That's me. The other day at work, we had a little mini pride party, and I had been cleaning in the art room, and I just kind of got caught up because I was like, I'm in the zone. I'm cleaning up. I'm in the zone. And so I went over, and it was a bit like, I know a couple of people there, and one of my colleagues was like talking about something and used the word cunt, and she said, "Oh, sorry, is that okay to use that word with you?" And I said, "Well, are you serving it?" And it was very funny. Anyway, next thing we're going to bring up is the lawsuit, and then we're going to finish. All right, let's finish this. I've been making this video for a week nearly because I care about the topic. I think it's important, and I really want to make the call to action that YouTube do something about Ethan Klein. Now, it has come out. Francesca Albanese, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestine territories, has recently come out with a list of firms that are profiting from the genocide. And one of the first ones is Palantir. And guess what, people? You see, what they're doing in Palestine at the moment is a warm up for what they would like to do in America. The way they track people, use drones, etc., etc. It's a training ground, and it always has been. Do you know where cops have learned how to be militarized? So Palantir, Peter Thiel, who is he's a weirdo billionaire fool. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the parent company to Google, to YouTube is one of the companies. Lockheed Martin, of course. There are also Caterpillar and Volvo. Yeah, there's a whole lot of different companies that are profiting from the war, profiting from a genocide. I mean, the company that made Zyklon B is still around. Bayer. They made Zyklon B, provided it to the Nazis. VW is still around. IBM, Hugo Boss. Yeah. So capitalism will always win. And that's kind of what maybe this is about. As a part of all of the actions of H3, Ethan Klein has decided he's suing 4 creators for watching his content nuke on stream. He's claiming that it was not fair use, that they have violated the copyright law, and he's going to take them to court for that. So the content nuke is 1 hour and 42 minutes. Denims reaction, what? 3 hours 21. I don't know how long Frogan's was, but like, how can they say that it's not fair use when it's a full hour and a half more than his original video? That's obviously transformative. It doesn't matter what she said. Okay? Fair use is transforming it. And he claims that Frogan, because she went to the bathroom and was missing for, 2 minutes, that's fair use. And he's got all these ridiculous things in the complaints, like reaction by exiting because Frogan went to the bathroom. And Denims was a nightmare on Denims Street. And Kaseytron he's like given these cute fucking names to the lawsuits. It's so weird. The Kaseytron was she smoked more than she spoke because she was getting high while she was on stream, which I don't care. But And it clearly was meant for Hassan. He wanted Hassan to, that's why he was crying so much, because Hassan, that's why he did it. And Hassan's reaction to it was 8 hours long and he didn't even get through half of it. So he knew that he couldn't get Hassan with it, so he went after these women. He has a real hate boner for the 2 Arab women and one who is visibly Muslim with her hijab. And he was like, well, I'm not misogynistic. It's not like that. And meanwhile, there were other creators who had less reaction. They didn't transform it as much and got millions of views. Okay, directly uploaded. And that's Asmongold and XQC. Ethan even mentions them in the second content week, saying, well, they weren't trying to get views away from me. It doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter, right? Oh, the other thing is he has video footage of him giving people permission to use his videos. He has said, I'm opening up my IP. You can use whatever you like with me in it on the pod, whatever. Anyone can use anything. He's made that statement. So I don't know how that's not going to be brought up in court, but I imagine like the women who are getting sued, I don't know much about Shonda Black. The women who are getting sued are keeping pretty quiet about their defense because they're not going to litigate it on the internet. Like, that's why the lawsuit is worded like it is. We're going to see in a sec. And because it is for the internet, he wants to humiliate them. He wants to put his grievances out there, right? It's not for a court case, and the women are preparing for a court case. So they're not revealing their entire strategy like Numbnuts is. So why go after those women? Oh, because he's a petty cunt. All right? This is like in Australian, like he would be called you weak cunt. That's what he'd be called. Like there's this kind of famous Australian criminal called Chopper Read. He's kind of a fraud because my dad knew people who knew him. And the movie Chopper, excellent Australian classic. Eric Bana plays Chopper, and he's in jail and he needs to stab. Why does he stab that dude? I can't remember, but he stabbed somebody, and he got one of his mates like betrayed him in jail, and he's sitting in solitary confinement next to him, and he goes, "Oi, hey, Jimmy, Jimmy." And he's like, "Yep, you weak cunt." That's what Ethan Klein is. Anyway, so he sucks. I think that he's going to lose. He is just trying to put them through pain, but also it's a way of legally bullying people. And I just wanted to draw attention to their GoFundMes. Denims versus Ethan Klein Fair Use Lawsuit Defense Fund. She is trying to get 100K and she is 38% of the way there. And shout out to Bad Empanada who has donated. I've got a couple of pages of the lawsuit. And so he calls Denims, like, it's just, how is this in a lawsuit? It's titled Denims, the alt left's answer to Kellyanne Conway. I don't know how to tell him that Kellyanne Conway is not a current reference, but it says Denim LARPs, live action roleplay. Why would you use an acronym and then put the full word there? As a revolutionary from the comfort of her bedroom in California, she's a prolific purveyor of misinformation and speaks with great confidence on topics where her knowledge leaves much to be desired. Every accusation is a confession. Denims repeatedly inserts herself into public controversies by employing poor judgment, knee-jerk contrarianism, and a consistent impulse to defend the indefensible. I think Ethan Klein wrote this looking in the mirror. Denims is one of the most loyal and ardent defenders of Hassan Piker, the most prominent alt-left streamer on Twitch. Much like Scientologists engaged in fair game, Denims ruthlessly attacks with reckless abandon anyone who disagrees with her or Hassan. That's not true. I've watched her clip channel. I haven't watched like full long streams with her, and she'll even have a conversation with the trolls. Like she'll talk to them, and she laughs at them. She doesn't get angry. Um, she parrots the thing parroting her Hassan's style. No, they're not alike at all. I don't know why he would put this in either. On November 17th, 2023, in a now deleted video, well, you see she's a Twitch streamer, and Twitch streams don't save; they're gone, and so of course it's deleted. Denims read Osama bin Laden's letter to America in its entirety on stream. She frequently expressed agreement and support for the letter, such as America deserved 9/11. I can't disavow facts, man. I can't. So uh, you have First Amendment, right? Theoretically, in America. So did she? Great. Even if I didn't like that. Well, that's really shitty, but what's that got to do with this fucking thing? What has this got to do with your copyright infringement case? And he also, have I got the Grand Mufti thing? He also goes minute by minute through her reaction, which means that it was transformative. How dare he? I'm reading this, and he has cited Andy Warhol. How dare he? Also, so he has a list of when Denims was silent, and the longest time was 139 seconds, looks like. Yeah, because she was considering what she was going to say, and she wanted you to be able to cook, I suppose. So for some reason, in the denim suit, he mentions Hassan a lot and explains who Hassan is. And in the Denims document, it says, in the wake of October 7th, Hassan emerged as the modern incarnation of the Grand Mufti Haj Amin al-Hussein. Like al-Husseini, Hassan became a passionate advocate and highly charismatic leader of the Palestinian cause. He's one dude. He's no leader. Fucking hell, this man. Like Al Husseini, Hassan used his massive platform. Dude, are you following Al Husseini? He's fucking. Oh man, his TikTok slaps. It's fucking tight. My God. Okay, his massive platform to spread genocidal rhetoric about anyone advocating for the right of Jewish self determination in their ancestral home, i.e., Zionist. No, you meant to put Jewish self determination. Put Zionist, because that's not all Jewish people. The primary difference between Hussein and al-Husseini is that al-Husseini worked with the Nazis and advocated for the annihilation of the Jews, while Hassan advocates for the annihilation of all Zionists. Since the vast majority of Jews in the United States say caring about Israel is essential or important, this would necessarily include the vast majority of Jews, even if they support the Palestinian cause and vehemently condemn the actions of the Israeli government. I'm glad that you can say that there are those Jewish people who do that, although he claims to be one. So here's pictures of just in case the judge, I don't know, is missing a fucking head, that they don't know who Nazis are. Picture with Hitler and Himmler. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with Denim's lawsuit? Nothing. Fucking nothing. And that's the point, I think. So anyway, he's a fucking idiot. I hope that YouTube does something about him, but I'm not holding my breath. Although, love you, YouTube. Keep paying me my $100 every 4 months. Love it. So if you would like to give to the GoFundMe's, Denims, as I said, then we've got Frogan's. Frogan is fundraising 200K, and she's raised 17% at $34,372. And shout out to Bad Empanada again, who's donated $500 there. Support Kaseytron's legal defense against Ethan Klein. She's 43% way there with her 100K goal, and she's raised $42,993. Now, because people are the worst, especially the H3 fandom now. And previously, there were a lot of, it was very dysfunctional. Some people from the H3 fandom in this day and age are going to the GoFundMes and donating so that they can harass the creator on the GoFundMe platform. And these fucking people. This one here. Can you resist the temptation for a Big Mac and use this money for your legal defense? Are you going to get into an episode and to deal with the stress, spend this money getting a serotonin fix? Please spend the money on therapy because you are absolutely screwed in court. $18. That was actually quite a decent donation. And there's some on Denims as well. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? What the fuck? All right. So let's bring it to the end of this fucking long video, which I probably am only going to get grief and harassment, but you know, I'm on the right side of history here. I would like to finish with a poem by Rifat Alaria, who is a Palestinian poet. He was killed quite recently, and he released a book of poetry and prose called If I Must Die, and that's the name of this poem. If I must die, let it be a tale. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child, somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. That's it. So I hope that this all ends soon, but I can't see it happening very quickly. I think that we'll come to a point where people will say, oh, I was always against this. I just hope it happens sooner rather than later. There is no way that you will ever kill all the Palestinians. They're all over the world. You cannot kill them. And they will not leave Gaza. It is their home. And yeah. All right. Thank you for watching. Or not. Like, if you hate me, fuck you. I don't care. Whatever. Oh, I forgot one thing. Like at the beginning, I was like, let's get it out of the way, all the things that are wrong with me. I have blue hair. I'm the blue haired liberal. I have bad teeth. Yeah, bad teeth, blue hair, annoying voice, maybe? I don't know. All right. If you made it this far, like, fucking good for you. This has been a labor of love, but like I've said trillion times, it was well worth it. Anyway, like and subscribe. I'll be doing a lot more. I go back to my anti MLM content now that I've made this fucking epic video. All right, bye.